so much, Sanjeev sir, for your continued support to the initiative. If I can please hold you on stage for a memento. To present the memento, we have Mr. 𝗙rie𝗶𝗍𝗍. He is CBO ONDC. And he'll be sharing details on the various themes and prizes that I'm sure everyone is very excited to find out more about. 𝗙rie𝗶𝗍𝗍.
Good morning, everyone. We've had a very brisk, exciting, and provocative start already. And let's get into now the heart of what this program is about. And then multiple use cases. We heard the expectation from Pramod sir that in 5 years' time we should expect to see use cases we could not even imagine today. So the network, for it to grow, requires all these components to be simultaneously built for everyone and at scale. Now, how do we do this? The very idea of democratization basically means you don't have a central entity trying to do everything. You bring in the entire power of the ecosystem to do it. And so it began with a crowdsourcing effort where we expanded our request to the entire ecosystem, the entire industry, to the entire country, and looking for solutions that currently have not been done. Now, some of these subjects may seem familiar, but there are always nuances, as Vijay said, that there are nuances that may not have been solved for, but there may be applications that have not been solved for. So at the heart of it, of course, there is the core ONDC promise, then there are network enabling features, and there are domains. So eventually this network is going to be an amalgamation of many things. And wherever the friction points are, that's where we would expect to solve them. We expect this to be a source of information and inspiration to a broad range of people, for startups who are already into some sort of business, or people who are considering building a startup, for freelancers who have a skill that can be adopted either at the network level or at an individual entrepreneur level, professionals who can bring their experience to bear and knowledge to improve any of the solutions that are being created, and as well as students who have not been fettered by predetermined ideas or existing solutions, and who can look at the world with fresh new eyes and bring that open perspective. So as we've brought in these statements, we've looked at what people wanted solved, we've grouped them, we've combined them, and they fall into three broad groups. The first conversation that we will hear is around next generation ventures. And these are problems and issues or friction points that have not been solved for, which are now an opportunity for somebody to pick up on. And we will talk about the resources that will also help them. But these are now ideas that we expect will become new generation ventures. There are another set of issues which are really not about the newness of it, but more about scale and enabling of that scale. And so these are ideas, once implemented, will allow the first group of ideas to actually scale bigger and faster than if these solutions didn't exist. And finally, there are foundational ideas where we will bring addressing the foundational resources and structure that are enabling the other two, which is the scalable solutions and the next generation ventures to go. So in the end, these three will work with each other. And for the first conversation, which is around next generation ventures, I invite back 𝗵𝗍𝗍𝗶 founder of 197 and Paytm. And I also invite Nitin Sharma from Antler Group. He's the co-founder and general partner for Antler India. They will be in conversation and talk about this whole idea of next generation ventures and how do we reimagine solutions for the future.
But first of all, I want to thank and congratulate 𝗙់cie sir, 𝗵𝗲𝗏, 𝗙rie sir, and the rest of the ONDC team for putting this together. Thank you so much for doing all the hard work that you're doing. We really appreciate it. Quick poll. How many in the audience are founders who have not started a business yet on ONDC and are keen? All right, a few hands. We need,
how many are founders?
How many are founders who are trying to switch to something on ONDC or build more on ONDC?
Wow.
Okay. Fantastic.
And how many are product manager, companies, startups that are there from any startup whatsoever you come, including the founders, please? All right.
Okay, perfect.
Builders.
This is how you always expand the TAM.
Yeah.
I'm Nitin Sharma with my partner Rajiv and Sushmit, who is in the audience, and my team. We are very bullish on ONDC. We've been working at it for about a year. We've made 4 investments, so I think the proof is always when you put your money where your mouth is, and that's because we think it's one of those rare moonshots that can create a completely new paradigm category in India. We have some 800 people who've applied to start companies. We have a community that's running, and this is just the beginning. And so today we are very honored, honestly, to take this to the next level with next-gen statements, which is 9 problem statements that the ONDC team has come up with, which are friction points. So we'll get into some of that. But very glad to have someone who was there when UPI took off and Paytm became a verb, 𝗙𝗵𝗲𝗋𝗀, and I'm sure he's already covered why he's feeling the same excitement today. So you have covered the why. Why should Paytm care? Why are you so excited? We'll go into a little bit of what is going on.
Yeah.
But उससे पहले मैं दोबारा पूछना चाहता हूँ because a lot of skepticism sometimes के companies, large companies are doing this just for PR or to stay ahead, but they will not put real resources. So, and why will you move from a platform to a network, right? Completely different way of thinking.
Correct.
So, would love your take on that.
मैं अपनी भाषा यूज करूँगा और उसमें ये बताऊँगा कि आप देखिए all of the commerce is more or less two big companies take dramatic market share and then you're left with the rest of the very very small players. And मेरा ये मानना है कि the combined power of ONDC ecosystem जिसमें सप्लाई होगी, लॉजिस्टिक्स होगा, कस्टमर केयर होगी, कंज्यूमर इंटरफेस होएगा, and combined power of ONDC will inevitably become equal to one of them. And फिर आज हमें चाहे कोई थर्ड फ्रंट बोल दे, लेकिन बाद में सरकार हमारी बनेगी, ये मैं बता देता हूँ, ONDC की सरकार बनेगी. In other words, in my opinion, this network will catapult into becoming the commerce platform of this country, and I'm not just believer, but I've seen it happening also. थोड़े दिन पहले हम बात कर रहे थे यहाँ पे जैसे प्रोडक्ट के बारे में मालूम होता है कि कुछ सामान ONDC पे सस्ता मिल रहा था. इसका कारण क्या है कि प्लेटफॉर्म की जो मोनोलिथ हो जाने के कारण ओवरहेड हो जाते हैं, वो पूरे स्प्रेड आउट हो जाने के कारण वो कॉस्ट खत्म हो जाती है. आई मीन यू आर टोटली कंफर्टेबल सेइंग कि मैं आपसे डिस्कवरी फीस लूंगा, इतना लूंगा, या इसका सब्सक्रिप्शन मॉडल लूंगा या कुछ और लूंगा, एंड somebody is ready to say that I can fulfill your order at this price, and restaurant owner himself is able to say कि मैं आपको इस प्राइस पे दूंगा. तो consumer value will be dramatically different and superior to the current commerce platforms. I can write it as a construct of ONDC.
But still, it takes some courage, right? Because you have an organization, you're a public company, and you could have so much value creation on a platform. Use Paytm and get people to build on Paytm, etc. And now committing to at least the commerce part to start with.
I think we
before others have done it.
Yeah. So I want to tell you that we had invested a lot of money on an individual platform, and commerce in India became who can spend more than, and it was a game of outspending, not an outstanding platform.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. So in an outspending world, we decided that we will recede back because there was no end to the money in the pitfall that you can go. And if I look at the numbers, if I trust what 𝗙𝗃 tells me, there are still billions of dollar losses in general commerce out there. And that is something which I believe as an Indian entrepreneur, you don't have access to that dramatic large capital unless you are an institution with a dramatic bet on the market. Because as an entrepreneur, you are supposed to raise money on an equity basis. So I think the era of outspending will be challenged by outstanding performance when you are together fighting for it. So David versus Goliath, I would rather say this, that together we are more powerful than any individual.
Outstanding versus outspending, that's just beautiful. So we've talked a little bit about why. Now you just announced 10 million merchants minimum.
बिल्कुल.
So that is a big boost to the ecosystem.
मेरी तरफ से ये कहना है कि जब वो एक हाथरस के पेड़े वाले को लगता है कि उनको कॉमर्स पे आना है, तो देश में कॉमर्स आ चुका है. अब ये हमारी एबिलिटी होगी, हमारी कैपेबिलिटी होगी, कैसे हम उसको सिंपल करें, इजी करें, उसको लेके आएं. That will be the power of our ability.
So बहुत लोग ये कहते हैं, okay, ठीक है, sellers can be brought on. The seller side, a lot of seller apps bringing on. Buyers अभी नहीं आए. So can you go a little bit into how are you bridging the two?
Okay, ये प्रॉब्लम मेरे साथ Paytm में भी आई थी. पेमेंट सिस्टम बना रहे हो तो पहले मर्चेंट लाओगे या कंज्यूमर लाओगे, and this is the way the marketplace goes up. I mean, many of us have got to strong bars, and एक साइड ऊपर नहीं आ सकती जब तक दूसरी नहीं आएगी. तो मेरा मानना है कि जैसे कि आपने देखा कि lot of noise created for the select merchants जिन्होंने एक प्रोडक्ट SKU प्राइस रेस्टोरेंट डिलीवरी में बढ़ा करा, इसकी वजह से बहुत सारे रेस्टोरेंट आ गए. अब इतने रेस्टोरेंट आ गए तो इसकी वजह से बैंक पार्टिसिपेट करने लगे, तो बैंकों का ऑफर आ गया. फिर अगर बैंक पार्टिसिपेट कंज्यूमर आ गए तो नई तरह का यूज केस आ गया, नई तरह का यूज केस आ गया तो फिर एक और तरह का यूज केस आ गया. सो इन माय ओपिनियन इट इज अ नेटवर्क बिल्डअप जर्नी. It can't be based on one thing superlative. मतलब बहुत सारे कंज्यूमर किस चीज को खरीदने आएंगे, बहुत सारे मर्चेंट जरूर पहले आ जाएंगे. So मेरा तो उल्टा ये मानना है on the table, if we bring dramatic large amount of merchant, customers are out there and searching for it.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it is not a fight of consumer will take it or not. Obviously, the consumer trust and the discovery has to be sorted out. But there is an out there large amount of consumer ready to come online to shop and consume the product out there. And मैं आपको ONDC के कुछ नंबर की डेटा देता हूँ. मैं 11.8 million, मतलब 12 million customer ONDC से हमारे प्रोडक्ट पे आ गए थे. And I was like, whoa. 10 million is a milestone for a product. और आपको अगर देखते हो, अगर हम UPI की सक्सेस की बात करते हैं तो 250 से 300 मिलियन यूजर है अभी भी. I mean, इंडिया में अगर हम देख रहे हैं तो हम अभी ऑलरेडी 10 मिलियन कस्टमर बेस के ऊपर आ चुके हैं ONDC में. तो मेरा मानना है कि अगर हम टोटल ओवरऑल कॉमर्स देखें, डिफरेंट कैटेगरी का कॉमर्स देखें, तो इंडिया का कॉमर्स समवेयर अराउंड 50 मिलियन और सो है. आप 1/5 प्लेयर हो तो इसका मतलब आप लेजिटिमेट प्लेयर हो. And I think more number of categories of customer use cases will drive even larger number of customers.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, we all keep hearing.
So इस दोनों चीजों में से अगर आप एक साइड सप्लाई कर दोगे, दूसरी साइड के multiple player आ जाएंगे.
You take the view that India is a supply constrained market.
I totally take, yeah, totally. In fact, if you notice, some of the large platforms say that we are the catalog of Earth. You know, the inherent
catalog of Earth.
Yeah, at Earth catalog. Amazon का statement public है, which means that I will bring anything that you are trying to search. जिस दिन हमारा dramatic amount of large amount of catalog आ जाएगा, customer order करने लग जाएगा. In that time, the money starts flowing from consumer to the merchant, and the system will start to show up. जो हम बात कर भी रहे थे कि कुछ चीजों के लिए तो जगह नहीं है ना बड़े प्लेटफॉर्म पे. चाहे वो D2C ब्रांड हो, चाहे वो कुछ एक नीश प्रोडक्ट हो, वो सारी चीजें तो इसके द्वारा डिस्कवर ही होंगी. एंड इन माय ओपिनियन मोर कंज्यूमर इंटरफेसेस विल शो अप सूनर. एंड यस, पेटीएम इज अ टॉर्च बेयरर ऑफ इट एंड वी विल रिमेन. हम और आगे कमिट कर रहे हैं कंज्यूमर ट्रैफिक में. सो मेरा ये मानना है कि द कैटलॉग और द मर्चेंट और द कैटेगरी ऑफ सर्विसेज will bring even more consumers out there.
Thank you for that. What is happening on the ground? Abhi, you're taking a view कि चलो पहले let's get a lot of sellers in, and then the cycle will start, the flywheel will start. On the ground, what is happening when you are bringing these sellers on?
So मैं बताना चाहता हूँ आप लोगों को कि हमें बहुत खुशी हुई जब हमने अपना पहला एयर कंडीशन अपने प्लेटफॉर्म पे बेचा. And this was sold by a physical world retailer in Chennai. I mean, we are talking about a person who, and अपने platform पे, many of us are Paytm users in this room. You would have not seen a special offer going for an air condition or a white goods sale. And I think the value prop was the shopkeeper was able to get a customer, and customer was able to compare the prices nearby and elsewhere. And the customer was able to decide कि मुझे ये SKU चाहिए और मैं नहीं जाऊँगा shop by. And the shopkeeper was very happy to say कि मैं आपका कोई सा भी price match कर सकता हूँ. तो 1-to-1 बात भी कर सकते हैं, वो interaction भी कर सकते हैं. And then the local installation, which is when you are buying on internet, you not possible. मैं इस कमरे में एक और example देता हूँ इसी चीज़ का. मैं अपनी sister के लिए television खरीद रहा था, and it was a Samsung large TV costing out 70,000, 64,000. I remember that. And I'm not kidding in this room, very large platform of commerce did not deliver Greater Noida. It said that delivery to this destination is not enabled. मैं prepay कर रहा हूँ, मैं कोई cash on delivery नहीं ले रहा. तो अगर हम देखें तो the country needs a commerce yet to reach even the so-called tier 1, if you will say that. And that is when a local retailer in Greater Noida will happy to show up, including a large retailer or a offline retailer, whosoever it is, and happy to deliver to that.
Yeah, actually, this is the thing that a lot of people don't realize.
मैं बताता हूँ, अभी मेरा एक दोस्त है, वो दुबई से इंडिया आया, तो मैं उसको उसकी बर्थडे के दिन पे जब दिल्ली में वो चल रहा था एयर प्यूरिफायर्स की फाइट चल रही थी, तो I wanted to deliver an air purifier. I'm not kidding. उस कॉमर्स प्लेटफॉर्म में मैंने 3 लोगों का एड्रेस डाला, जगह, it did not deliver. मुझे अपने घर में आना पड़ा, हमने खोल लिया अपने घर में, उसका गिफ्ट मेरे घर में आ गया.
So these are like complex commerce cases जहाँ पे service and product.
I fundamentally believe it is not even corner case. India's commerce is yet to be solved, and India's commerce compoundingly to be solved, and India's commerce will be solved inevitably in this network.
The network itself.
I'm all in. You're seeing that it is not a first mover, late mover. I rather want to say किसी ने पूछा था कि market share का क्या होगा, चाहे कोई आए ना आए, हम तो इसमें पूरे all in.
You know, I think one of our team members, 𝗙cie𝗶𝗱 had made this point that so many categories in India, gross margin is so low that they're not even online. Like paints, we never buy paints online.
अच्छा, मैं बताता हूँ आपको कि हम grocery करते हैं अपने platform पे, and I was totally believer that grocery is a very small margin category. It's fundamentally not for online customers. I mean, 7-Eleven का case ये है कि वो बहुत ही low price product, high price product, high margin product रखते हैं, but not the groceries and so on. I am in this room telling you that we do grocery deliveries at profit, and we were so totally shocked. ये कैसे हो रहा है? So one shopkeeper in Pune. So you have to see it. Chennai, Pune, Noida, Gurgaon. It is national out there. So this shopkeeper in Pune was telling his customers कि आप पेटीएम से स्कैन करते हो ना, वहाँ पे ही मेरा स्टोर भी है, वहीं से ऑर्डर करो, मैं डिलीवर कर दूंगा.
All this is happening on ONDC.
And I did not have to discover कि सर्विस कैसे होगी, फुलफिलमेंट कैसे होगा, डिलीवरी कैसे होगा. The person was happy and we had to ask him कि आप ये क्यों करते हो? तो उसने बोला सर दूसरे ऐप पे कर देते ना. तो मैंने बोला आप ऐप पे कर दो पेटीएम पे, मैं डिलीवरी कर दूंगा. एंड डिलीवरी करने के लिए मैं उनको बोल देता हूँ किस टाइम पे आना है. तो we did not solve the logistics problem and a cost as a direct problem solving, but it was solved by merchant and consumer by themselves. And merchant wanted to capture the customer base who was otherwise sliding to other app. So मेरा ये मानना है कि people are underestimating the power of this platform, and inevitably it will become a bigger platform. At least as Paytm and at least as a commerce business, we are all in on it.
Awesome. So to the founders, right? I think we were discussing as Antler, as I mentioned, we see hundreds of people interested, and there are three things that come up initially before they go into the depth, which keeps them from jumping into start a venture. एक तो ये है कि they don't even know if the big companies are coming in and where the demand and supply will come in, right? Which I think you have addressed with a lot of clear investment from Paytm. Second is depending on category, the cold start problem, या chicken and egg. So I want to get your take if you could go one level deeper, how should a new founder think about that? कि अगर demand नहीं है, तो मैं कब तक wait करूँ? Should I wait 6 months, 1 year to start a business?
भगवान करे कि आपकी डिमांड आए और आप भी कभी यहाँ आए. मतलब ये तो बहुत ही अजीब सा क्वेश्चन है. क्या आपको लगता है कि OpenAI की डिमांड इतनी थी कि 100 मिलियन यूजर प्रोडक्ट इतनी जल्दी बन जाएगा? I fundamentally believe there is no product which is well placed for the customer's demand will lack the demand. In fact, I can share that my boardroom used to say when I said that we will solve payment as a problem, and it's because my board had a couple of Indian international people also. So one of them literally said, विजय आप क्या करने वाले हो? इस देश में लोग नोट की माला पहनते हैं, आप नोट को खत्म कर दोगे, ऐप पे लगाओगे, ये कैसे होगा? So I just want to tell you one thing, that India is a cohort big enough for having every cohort of demand out there. It is just people have to discover, and thanks to the social and various internet-led methods to discovery, it is fundamentally, I would rather say, if you have a product that serves a small niche cohort, people will discover it.
So someone should not be waiting on the sidelines.
No, the fact that you're waiting tells me that you're not all in.
Probably not
मेरा तो यही कहना है.
The brave founder
कभी हाँ तो मतलब आप आओ यार गेम में आओ. गेम तो इनफैक्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी होती है जब ये अपॉर्चुनिटी डिमांड सबको ना दिख रही हो. I rather want to say that when many have not seen the demand, then you should come in, because you will have a lot of bigger leverage over the later stage players.
Yeah. No, we obviously feel the same way. I think some founders clearly, I think some of the fear is understandable because they may still think of this as going to depend on government, and I think that is what's not clear is it's a network, right? Which is
तो बिल्कुल ऐसे ही है ना, मम्मी मेरे को खाना नहीं मिला, मेरे को कपड़े नहीं मिले. Please यार, I mean, like if you are expecting somebody else to solve your problem, then why are you in this problem solving game?
All right, there you go.
Every problem is to be solved by you, and there is an asset out there.
All right, so jump in. The third thing that we also hear is some are unclear as to, you just say UPI में the value capture happened with the existing platforms or large companies that existed. Where are the opportunities for someone just starting out? Now we believe there are lots of
बहुत छोटा आंसर है.
Huh?
You already said it. In UPI, the value capture happened with the already large platform. आ जाओ जल्दी से, already large platform नहीं है यहाँ पे. मतलब I would rather say that अगर आप ये कह ही रहे हो, then you should be worried when a large platform starts to walk in. But today it is not a problem left because you are supposed to be the large platform.
Right.
And another thing I want to share on UPI is that ultimately UPI value prop is not in the consumer market share. It is where the money is. If you notice, Paytm is able to build a revenue model ahead of everyone else. Whatever the consumer market share could be, is because we followed the money trail. So you can follow the vanity consumer market share trail, which is valuable. A lot can be done using that, or you can follow the money trail, which could be somewhere else.
Fantastic.
आपने सुना होगा Amazon और Jeff Bezos का public statement है, your margin is my opportunity. Because you do not know the big company will take the market share or revenue, it's counterintuitive. You should come and challenge the incumbent of today.
Well said. I think you should be the spokesperson for a lot of things we do and when we talk to founders. I'm told we don't have too much time left, so Thank you. I think quick word on, what the other big thing happening in the world obviously is AI. And AI times ONDC is itself a very interesting set of things. We have our thesis, but I'd love to get you.
Yeah, so I also want to tell you that today's internet startup, technology startup and commerce stroke ONDC startup will not be with an equal amount of talent and resource requirement as was 5 years back. I share in this room very proudly that Paytm's ONDC team, which does profitable multiple category and significant orders for us as a volume which based on number of people and resources that we've committed, is actually shockingly less than 50 people. And I also want to tell you that all merchandising etc. management is done by AI. आप अगर कभी ONDC का आइकन को टैप करो पेटीएम पे तो जो पेज जनरेटेड है वो पूरा का पूरा unhuman, not human. Even the SKU, the photo, the gradient, the text, everything is decided by a machine. In other words, I rather want to tell you, today if you are building on ONDC and if you are not building with leveraging the power of generative AI and capable of AGI and very other AI, then you are definitely building like a traditional world, which is not the opportunity. In fact, the programmable SKUs that we talked about will give you another level of margin up in terms of standard player. So AI will build the commerce far more cost effective and far more worthy of reach that we deserve.
Absolutely. I think this is a setup for what 𝗙ષ sir will cover in some time, which is problem statements ranging from reverse logistics, storage, retrieval, catalog scoring, Indic languages, how do you customize everything to that? In the interest of time, because we don't have much, any last piece of advice for any founder here?
If you are thinking of it and you are stuck because of some limitation or other that you think that is not there, then you're not thinking of it. I mean, I wonder that when all answers are yes for anything to happen. Anything to happen. कल का इलेक्शन का रिजल्ट देख रहे थे, मुझे नहीं पता किस पार्टी ने सोचा होगा कि किसका आंसर ऑल सही है. It is that you go in the game and you discover the game and you build the game. So welcome to the game.
So I think you have 3 things that founders look for: what to build, why to build, and where the money is.
Just do it. I fundamentally believe, like I told you, if my sister in Greater Noida cannot buy television online, there is no bigger opportunity than to do the commerce still, because large platforms eventually will become profit-centric, cost-centric, will also shrink from the reach that they traditionally have had. I think it is the power of us together that will solve the country's commerce problem, and that is the opportunity to build for our country.
And the third piece of, after you figured out what and why is there money, I think we discussed it. We obviously are doing our bit as a pre-seed fund at the first stage, and I can tell you, I think the interest is growing for the larger checks also. So it's a matter of time.
And I also want to tell you, Nitin, that guys, when we build for our country progresses and us progresses. When you build it for something else in some other country or some other geography, that country progresses, yaar. I mean, क्या कर रहे हो? अपने देश के लिए बनाओ, अपने लिए बनाओ. So that is what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think Sujit needs any introduction. Sujit has been at the forefront of evolving the open networks. He's one of the early innovators of Pekin protocol, which is powering many open networks, within our country. So I think, with that in mind, let me just straight jump into some questions, with Sujit. We are going to have about 5-6 questions for Sujit to answer, and then we'll open it up for people to ask some questions. So Sujit, welcome to the session.
Thank you.
Let me start by picking your brains on the need for open network. I mean, why should we deplatformize and re-energize the network model of thinking?
I don't think I need to answer that question after we heard Vijay emphatically talk about it, Pramod and the panelists before us. So, but I just wanted to make 2 comments. One, any new change or a new way of thinking looks uncertain at the very beginning. We can talk about UPI. I remember 2015 as a management consultant, when I was roaming through the streets of BKC, meeting banks and other payment companies, I remember showing them UPI specification, which was a consultation paper that came out from Pramod. A page-and-a-half specification. I showed it to the banks, the card companies, and all of them, and says, "Can we imagine payments like this?" So the normal comment at that time is, "Yeah, looks very counterintuitive. I wish it was this easy." And today we all know where UPI is. So I think the idea of open networks looks a little counterintuitive or complex to begin with. I think that we are probably boiling the ocean to solve. But one, I think open network as an idea, just like UPI internet, is not new. It's something that we've been doing, and networks are all around us. Anything which is population scale, civilization scale, planetary scale are all open networks. Take internet, take mobile telephony, emails, they're all actually open networks. So it's not that this idea is something very radical. This idea itself is something that's been proven at scale. Just that it takes time for these networks to suddenly compound on the network effects, I think. Even Vijay alluded to the point, so I think it takes that time. The second part, which is the point I think Vijay also brought out, I live in North Bangalore. Just like Vijay's sister in Greater Noida, I don't get many things in Bangalore. Talk about peak Bangalore and commerce, I don't get stuff in North Bangalore at times. So, and this we're talking about Bangalore, so imagine the rest of the country. It's a very, very large, outspread of market that we're talking about, diversity, the different needs we're talking about. Sir spoke about getting mangoes, his favorite mangoes online. So there is enough and more of access problem that we need to solve, and which I don't think the current model of, I would start calling it the traditional commerce now. The traditional commerce model can solve for that scale. While platforms are great and they scale very well, we are talking about a scale that is far beyond one or two platforms to do. And therefore the question is, how do we solve for that access? How do we make sure, and the access has two dimensions. One is, can every seller in every nook and country find catalog of products that you get? And we heard Vijay saying it's a supply constraint problem. And then can every seller find a way to find a market in his catchment area or beyond where he can ship and sell the product? I mean, I remember if I were to get a laptop in Bangalore the same day, there could be a seller in Bangalore or Noida in my neighborhood who can deliver the laptop in 45 minutes. The fact that I am looking for one laptop and the seller has a laptop and he doesn't know that I am looking for it, that creates the problem. If it is an open network, there's no constraint that both have to be on the same platform to mutually discover this need. The need shows up, naturally shows up. The marginal cost of discovery of that need with ONDC is close to zero. And that's a very powerful thing to look at and imagine. So therefore, open network, if you have seen how UPI grow, I don't see a reason why even commerce can be thought like that, and therefore open networks.
Absolutely, Sujit, and I think what you're hinting at is, at some point, at some scale, every platform which is large in nature will have its own inefficiencies, to scale up to, tier 2. But, moving on, if you typically look at the evolution of traditional e-commerce, as you have put, they've all been large and scalable platforms. They've been able to manage the user experiences better, right? And, they definitely offer a certain amount of guarantees, right? How do you think a network-based decentralized system offer better experiences and build trust at scale?
Yeah, so I think before I answer that, I want to highlight the nature of scale itself. I agree with you, some of the platforms do scale very well and large and scale fast while offering experience. But it still scales like a garden. You have a gardener, you're curating the garden, but gardens don't scale as much as a forest does. Forests grow exponentially. Forest takes time to grow, but once it grows exponentially and it finds an equilibrium. What India needs as an ecosystem for democratizing access to commerce is the forestry. And in forestry, you don't pick and choose which flora, which fauna to grow, they evolve. It requires many micro value creation, life creation activities that happens in a forest. I think in case of ONDC, in case of India for open networks, it is trying to enable that forestry, because I don't think there is one standard way of buying and selling for which you premeditate the user experience. Say that is the user experience that's going to work for 900 million adults or a billion people in the country. That's not going to work. We're going to redefine user experiences that comes with a whole lot of vagaries and nuances. And this contextual, it's regional, we need this in local vernacular, we need the local seller to be able to speak the local vernacular and be able to publish a catalog, and buyer trying to find a range of things. To the point example, if I'm buying a television, where do I get the installation services from? They could be from two different companies altogether. One could be a local provider, the television could come from a big online retailer or a big supermarket. So there are so many minor elements to this, and that requires many diverse micro solutions, contextual, to a particular sector, market, customer cohort and all that. And that forestry cannot be created by one big platform. So if you're talking about forestry and that kind of scale, you need to have multiple players coming in. And Shirish has brought about some of the problem statements, which I think are very critical. I mean, how do we solve for reverse logistics if you're shipping up 2 t-shirts to some 𝗙𝗄𝗎 and then expecting them to return? Who's going to be the last mile logistic provider who's going to be available? Are you going to find a pre-contract and then say, let me serve this pin code? Or you have, maybe somebody's putting up the hand and saying, I can manage this for you, while you focus on delivering your product or offering a great catalog, while somebody else solves the fulfillment problem without you even knowing. And that is probably what India needs, and I think, as I can understand from my conversation outside of India, most of the world require.
Interesting. But Sujit, if you look at the overall, the deep platformization and thinking of a network construct, you also, need to think about the complications that are involved, the intricacies of contract between the two parties, and I think, Vijay and, the previous panelists also touched upon it. The one guarantee that you get on a single platform, that you have everything concentrated in one place. In an open network, do you think this becomes a little bit of a challenge for ecosystem to sort of, build trust at this scale?
Certainly, and that's what we need to transcend. If somebody was to ask if UPI transaction is hopping 4-5 different platforms to make a transaction, today you don't think about it that way. You think UPI is reliable because it's instant payment, and that's how even TCP/IP was designed. TCP/IP, when a packet leaves a computer, the probability is almost 0. It's only because of the dense network you have a certainty that the packet reaches the other end. So similarly with ONDC, somebody has to solve for this uncertainty and reliability that comes with these nuances. But that is where the opportunity for entrepreneurs is. That's a story by itself. So I would encourage you to think in that direction as well. Thank you.
Interesting, Sujit. Always insightful to talk to you. I think the message is very clear. Build for Bharat, build at scale, build at population scales for the globe. Thank you so much, Sujit, for your...
And that brings us to the end of the program. I'd really like to thank the audience for being so patient and, such a disciplined audience. I must say we had minimal interruptions throughout.